Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, citizens, residents, visitors, and welcome
Subway
back
75 bonus 7 hoy.
to the
Krayven,
Cravenstown streaming complex on this Sunday, the 22nd of September 2019. If it is your first time here, outstanding timing. We're just beginning the warm-up, and thank you so much for taking a punt on the channel. And whether it is your 1 or 100th time here, you are watching Story Sunday. Hello, good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning, time zone dependent. Let's see out the weekend in style. Thank you so much, first of all, first chat blood, first alert blood, and most importantly, first bitty blood. Citizen Darkens for the 75 biddies plus 7 bonus biddies from September, because September's not quite done. We shall have 2 more days of it. Thank you so much, Darkens, and good evening, Citizen Sapphire. How you doing? Apologies for the late start. I don't quite know why. I was so sat down and ready and getting all my prep done, but for some reason I'm really rather out of sorts. Like right now, I've normally got this done before I even hit that welcome to Cravenstown scene change. I'm putting my phone with the chat that I can read in the full game up right then. I don't know what's going on. Yo, Resident C9, how you doing? Or good eons if you're close to the event horizon of a black hole. Love it. Love it. I might just do good time zone or good eons from here on out, as opposed to fucking Christ.
Subway 75 bonus 7. I'm okay, Krayven. Just time of month. How are you?
Fair play to you, Sapphire. That considered, thank you so much for swinging in. I do hope that we can keep you satiated and happy as much as triple chocolate ice cream. And thank you so much to the 75 biddies, and likewise with the September. I'm doing all right. Well, actually, let me say, for some reason, I was a bit slow to get rolling. I had finished my dinner in good time because I started at 4 minutes past. Normally, it's on a day like today, I try and have the game running in the background. I've decided, you know what? No, I'll use the break time between part 1 and 2 to fire up Pillars 2 in the background, so it's not, my system resources aren't chugging quite so terribly when I'm switching around doing things when I'm reading in the first part and I've got Chrome open and this, that, and the other. But it does mean there's going to be 2 to 3 minutes with the load times at the very least, because Pillars 2 has a huge front load time, which is why I try and get it done. And even without that being in place, I was a bit slow getting started. Yeah, I was shit ton of Kinder Bueno chocolates. Are those the Kinder Bueno bars that like they break so delicately per segment? Oh, if they are. And they got the caramel and the wafer and the Kinder chocolate and then a little drizzle like fancy Nouveau Cuisine. They're awesome. They are awesome, awesome, awesome. Now you're making me really want them. They're rather indulgent chocolate that comes in a very, very sort of standard sort of newsagent setting and wrapper. You don't have to go to some fancy shop for them. I think they're quite underrated as chocolate bars go. Well, enjoy, Sapphire. I'm really rather jealous. Yeah, for some reason I was just doing everything, but I was doing it a little bit in slow motion, maybe 25%, 50%, 33% slower, and I was like, why is it taking me so long to get my studio, my OBS up, and my Streamlabs and the chatbot and this, that, and the other, and oh, hang on, I still haven't put the tweet out, I haven't got the YouTube background music, and I haven't even fired up the game yet. It's already 7. I went live at 4 minutes past. 20 minutes, and I got half as much done. I didn't have my flags in place, now my chat in place, so hopefully that's no omen as how I'm going to go on. I'm a little sleep deprived, not going to lie. I've been dead good this weekend. I've saved some money and I haven't gone out, and I've been productive. I've gotten things done. I got a few bits of news or just general stream related stuff, just IRL catch up. While I'm chatting about what I've been up to this weekend, please do fill me in on what you guys and girls have been getting up to, how you spent it, what you've been doing, have you been working, have you been relaxing, have you been doing both? We're all friends. We're a community. I want to hear your news. Everyone has an off day. It's more, honestly, Dark, it's like an off half hour. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm a bit more tired than I realise. I don't feel especially tired. So what happened? Short version. Short version is I played Oxygen Not Included last night. The more I play that, the more I'm enjoying it. Eventually, I can see me dropping off from it after several weeks of doing it on Thursdays. Those of you who don't already know, that is our new Thursday jam. Now we're completely done with Darkest Dungeon until we have a release date for the sequel. And the art style, the way you put it together, that game's a dangerous game for me. That kind of game. Hey, here's a really kooky looking thing, cartoon machines, really well animated. Like, it all looks beautiful. It's all very charming. It's also a base builder, and it's a sci-fi base builder in a comet and a meteor. This is like, hey, Krayven, do you know your dangerous equivalent of gaming crack? We're just gonna drip you feed you this. Yo! Citizen Stu, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Well, obviously, I've been catching up a little bit on what has been going on for you posted in Krayven's Town. I hope it's ticking over. I'm glad your internet and Wi-Fi issues were very short-lived. And See Dying says, I'm on the breakout board phase for the EE project. What's the breakout board phase mean, and what's the EE project? But that sounds positive. You're obviously happy about that, See Dying, so congratulations. Feel free to furnish me with a tad more info and context for that, because I am intrigued to know. So with the previous, I stayed up with Oxygen Not Included, and then with a couple of episodes of Futurama afterwards, till about 4:30 this morning. Now I was being very, very good. Thursday night, Friday night, I was getting into bed early for me. I mean, hell, on Friday, I was in bed before 2 a.m. I think about 10 past 1. I got into bed, which for me is basically the equivalent of going to bed at 8 o'clock at night. And I was reading that lovely book, that lovely Pillars of Eternity lore book, courtesy of Stu, thank you so much, and getting that nice period between the screen going off and going to sleep with like, just some book and no blue light, and relaxing. And then I completely ruined all that hard work because Oxygen Not Included is a little bit... Just 5 more minutes. Just do that one more thing. Oh, just get that research finished. Oh, well, now you've got that. Just place... Oh, yeah, you dug all that out. Well, just finish tiling the floor and building the ceiling. And then suddenly you're like, oh, another hour. Well, all right. But if I get up then I can justify going to bed at, like, 2:30. And... You've all been there. You've all been there. It's all like kind of, where the bullshit stories we tell ourselves to justify getting more time to do the games we want and stuff. And the breakout board phase, you chop up the big PCB into small functional parts you can individually test. Oh, so it's literally chopping up a board. Break out the board phase. I thought you might be on the board of a project, or like an actual project management board, and that's what crossed my mind. But that sounds good. That sounds very productive. That's the engineering side of things you do, isn't it, Diane? And Stu says... I done some gaming sessions where I played till 6 a.m. in the morning, Witcher 3, and done that for weeks. Yeah, I have to admit, 6 would have been pushing it for me, but that's why I had to stop playing. And right, Prison Architect, it's games like that. It's base builders with little minions. It's sort of like digital ant farm that you can control. Absolutely that. And I couldn't fully get on with Prison Architect, but for Oxygen Not Included, despite how stupid the AI is, it's so charming and well put together. It's just the worst thing for me to do. It does make me look forward to Thursdays tremendously, and I find it very good to make content with, as opposed to just be a game to play to like do this show. It works so well, so I'm really enjoying it. But it's rare that I take any gaming time for myself that I'm not broadcasting. It's rarer still that I do a game that I'm broadcasting as well, because I try and save that only for you guys. But because Oxygen Not Included doesn't really have any plot, so to speak of, it's kind of safe to just play and develop. So I did. I carried on from the meteor we started setting up on Thursday and expanded it a little bit. And none of my derps have died yet, so that's nice. And you have a 1,000 inmate prison that brings my potato down to 7 frames a second. Oh, good lord, that's insane. Oh, Stu's challenge darkens to a duel. First duel of the evening. So yeah, anyway, cut an already quite long story short, I woke up naturally about 4.5 hours later and didn't feel tired. Oh, congratulations, Stu! First gladiatorial victory of the evening. But I realised I hadn't had enough sleep. But I ended up sleeping through the Ireland-Scotland game, which is a shame. But Ireland won. Yes, Frederick Rack. And then I watched England-Tonga. By the way, the Rugby World Cup is on, and I watched England-Tonga, most of it anyway. I missed the first 10 minutes. And England and Ireland won. So my morning has been rugby. Sunday morning's been good, but the rest of it been dead good. I hadn't gone out. I haven't spent money. After my birthday weekend, the last weekend, and the weekend before that, Goldberg Stag Do, I was due to stop in, ease down on a bit of the drinking, and save a bit of cash. A couple of things I cover on Friday. So we had the last stream, as you will recall, was Thursday, oxygen not included. Friday morning, myself, Kramer and I took a walk. I drove us up to Uffington White Horse. If you know the UK bit and some of our ancient monuments in the southeast or south central Midlands, there's some ancient chalk carvings. I'm talking ancient, and one of them that's very famous, very, very famous, is the White Horse of Uffington, and it's about 15,000 years old. Is the original carving, and that's 15-minute drive from where I am. And we get a bit more serious and somber for moments. Well, I wasn't too chatty on Friday and so much on Saturday as well. Especially on Friday, I was very quiet in Cravenstown. We scattered my great uncle's ashes. Some of you may recall earlier in the year he passed away, and he was just the best guy I knew. Like, absolutely, he was sort of grandfather I never had. And we've actually got half of the cousins and on the other side of the family down in Burnham-on-Sea. And hard for ourselves, and although now the White Horse is roped off, like I remember when you used to be able to stand on the iron stuff, but it's a National Trust thing, people could get destroyed, they resurface it, but it went on the Friday lunchtime when almost no one was there. There's two sites, there's the White Horse and then there's Dragon Hill, which is one of several sites where apparently St. George killed the dragon, and this amazing hill range that's still shaped by the glaciers from the last ice age, because it's a National Trust heritage site and no development can be done on it at all. So that looks amazing. But yeah, we went around and sort of scattered half of his ashes there, which was a very nice moment. Stu says, I'm off to Edinburgh Wednesday, booked the hotel and breakfast and train all sorted. That sounds very good for you, man. That's just a nice trip. Is that to go to the place you sorted out to move to, or is that as a trip as well? That sounds very encouraging either way, man. That sounds really good. Well, let us know how it goes. So yeah, that was the sort of important thing on Friday, and we had lunch in this pub afterwards and sort of raised a glass to his memory, and then took it pretty easy on Friday. I'm almost all caught up with company expenses, thank goodness. I've got them all uploaded. I've just got to do a spreadsheet now for my accountant of which one are Twitch and Twitch networking related and which ones are my original company, because I've rolled Twitch and streaming and what I make financially from it into my company's umbrella, but it wasn't originally incorporated to include Twitch and content creation as part of its thing, so there's a point where I had to split the two. Anyway, I won't get into that because that's like super boring, but the main thing is I've just got to do the spreadsheet now. The huge backlog is all uploaded, so that most of that a basket of rocks on my back that's been there, a good lot of that has been emptied out. I've just got to stay on it and get that done, so that feels really good. What else? Let me have a little look at the old mayoral diary here. Yes, the garage, the huge declutter, and Renana 007. Hello, I'm good. I'm very well. How are you, resident Renana? How's things? Welcome to the warm up. So on Sunday, I usually do a longer warm up to see out the week before a new stream week starts on Sunday, and then we do a bit of the Just Chat, the story time for part one, and then when all of that's done, we move over to part two, which is the narratively strong games, which at the moment is Pillars of Eternity 2. It's good to see you again, Renana. It's lovely to have you in the chat again, mate. How have you been? How's your weekend been? What have you been up to? Yeah, it's both the things you said. A break from here and check out one place I want to do, and a few Scottish ales. It can't go wrong. Maybe even treat yourself to a single malt, because one thing that the Scots, one of the many things the Scots know is bloody good whiskey, and it sounds amazing. It plays special to your uncle. My great uncle had already. Those of you, if you're thinking, if you said English is not your first language, great uncle is like the equivalent generation to grandparents. So my great uncle uncle was my grandmother's brother. And he'd always... It was a place that was kind of special to the whole family, and he'd lived and grown up around here a huge chunk of his life, so it just felt poignant. I mean, I'm as atheist as it gets. I won't break my own chat rules and bring up religion, but as we're just talking about honouring memory and scattering ashes briefly and stuff like that, I don't have any kind of notions or qualms of, like, you know, looking up and talking to anybody. But regardless of whatever you believe, there's always a physical present poignancy to that kind of thing, and it was a very nice thing to do. Renana, thank you so much for the follow. Residency to Cravenstown is granted. Lodgings are being prepared. Please ignore the screams. They are screams of joy. Citizens one and all, you know the drill. The straight up welcome banner, because it says welcome to Cravenstown. Let's give Renana 007 a very warm Cravenstown welcome, and sincerely thank you so much for supporting the channel. Fantastic timing to discover us and to arrive at the stream. We're just underway, so welcome to our little community. It's very nice to have you. So yeah, Saturday, okay, that's why I lifted these damn flags up, wasn't it? So I can have a little look. Yes, those of you who remember Operation Declutter all through the spring and summer since I moved away from London, the storage unit is finally empty. I didn't manage to fully sell the final couch, but, oh, there's a hunt. Darkins is starting a hunt. Exclamation mark hunt in the chat. If you don't already know, this is a little bit of interactive fun we have. By the way, I'm going to get onto that. I'm going to wrap up just like what I've been up to on the weekend, and then do about a few like stream and content related news updates to the channel, to the community, and stuff I'll be making and doing as well. So yeah, we got the we got the couch out, and that was excellent, because now I can stop paying for that. Some bad news: that wonderfully large and generous donation from I'm a Coconut on Thursday, the vintage 90s Lego pirate ship, was already sold. It was sold before he even gave it to me. I'm so gutted. I found another one on eBay for about £165, but I've got to like weigh things up a little bit. The time is, well, I can only give you my local time, Renana, which is 24 minutes past 7. I am in the UK, so BST, British Summertime, is what we are still on. Oh, what time is it? It's story time. Whereabouts are you? By the way, if you don't want to answer any questions I ask or post to you, don't feel at all bad if you want to keep it private, but I'm just curious where in the world you may be located. Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff back up in the attic, but I'm no longer paying for a storage container, garage, or anything, which is awesome. And I got my gym reinstated. And yeah, just got on with a bunch more practical stuff, more expenses, and then I've done a bit of that today. It's 3:24 p.m. 3:24. You're only 4 hours behind now. That puts you either on the very edge of Canada or a bit further over, because you're not on the east coast of the United States, because that's 5 hours behind. You're somewhere just slightly more east of the east coast of the United States, and I'm trying to place where, because there's quite a big chunk of Atlantic Ocean in there, unless it's like, you're South America. Awesome. Well, again, I was curious. I guess with the curvature going round, yeah, the way time zones work would cut through. My first guess would be Brazil, just because it's so geographically large. Statistically, that might be where you're at. No worries at all, Darkins. Nailed it. Welcome. Love the Brazilians. One of my very good friends in London is a Brazilian fellow from Rio, and just a great dude. Love to go out to the mini carnival. I mean, I'll never compare to the Brazilian carnival, but for all the Brazilians in London who can't go to carnival in Brazil, there's usually events on, and it's just such a great time. All the dances and stuff that they do, it's wicked. Well, I don't know. ¿Cómo estás? Dark Zero Warrior, thank you so much for the lurk support. I really need to update that command, because muting the tab no longer works to maintain a view. If you want to maintain a view but don't want the sound on anyone and everyone who's lurking, don't put the slider to 0, put it to 1 above mute, because muting the tab is now caught. Apparently you speak Portuguese. Indeed, outside of Portugal, the biggest Portuguese speaking, well, Brazilian Portuguese, because I imagine there's some dialectical differences between Brazil and Portugal, much like there is between Spain and Mexico, or Spain and most of the rest of South America. Still is close enough. To be fair, someone else speaking a second language. I'm sure you can forgive us, Renana. I'm sure you can forgive us. I only know that thank you is obrigado. Again, I have a hard time reading the difference between Spanish and Portuguese because I've seen a bit of Spanish. I've never seen any Portuguese written down. I hope all is well. It's not too shabby, Dark Zero. How are you? How is things in the world of the Dark Zero Warrior? Yeah. So the rest of today is just and I wanted to get on with something that I still need to take care of. That'll have to probably happen tomorrow and in through the week and next weekend. But now I can segue nicely onto updates about the channel, what we got coming up. It is obrigado. Nice. And Lord Darken stands on the balcony of his manor and yells, "Hoi! I'm Temmie," while waving his town flag to rally the citizens and residents below. And how are you? Is como voce vai? Como voce? I'm probably butchering that completely. Yes, I was going to get on with something that I'll remind everyone is coming, but I'll announce much more thoroughly and regularly in the build-up to it. In October, for all of October, any and all donations that come to me, it's the donation bar, as opposed to bits and subscriptions, will be going to Special Effect. Many of you will know the charity Special Effect that help gamers with disabilities or disabled people enjoy their improve their quality of life. Through gaming, and often with the support and money and research into special peripherals, whether people have got severe learning difficulties or partial or full paralysis and all kinds of different disabilities. They are the gamers charity. Anyone who's a gamer and is will know Special Effect. And if you're curious, just literally, I'll punch it into the chat here. If you haven't heard of it, no worries. I'll punch it in there. Special Effect. Now, Special Effect are doing a huge campaign, much like St. Jude Play Live in Christ.
Subway 75 bonus 7.
Yes, Special Effects, Stu, thank you so much, Darkens. And those of you who are new, I'm sure you'll get used to that startle scream. I'm going to add some varieties to it by the end of the year, I promise. Special Effect are the original, probably the OG gamers charity. They are focused around providing games to, very, very ancient meme, Red and Anna. But if that hasn't scared you off, you'll fit in just fine here. Some people get very put off by it, I don't blame them. Darkens, thank you for the 75 plus 7. So yeah, for all of October, they are doing, I'm trying the proper name for it. It's Game Something with Everyone. Where's my notes? Here we are. Nope, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Game On for Everyone, that's it, Game On. So I think a lot of people, a huge number of streamers on Twitch are going to be doing this. It's on Tiltify, a campaign called Game On for Everyone, much like St. Jude Play Live a few months ago was raising money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital charity. Yeah, so in October, the streams are going to run just like they always did. There's not going to be anything different, but my donation bar will no longer be going to equipment for this channel and for myself as a streamer, but instead all of the money there will be I'll be doing a fresh donation bar, and all of that is going to go to Special Effects. And to that end, I'm going to prep some incentives, a little bit like I did with the 1,000 follower 1,000 residents, I should say, celebration. And Kitsune Kaminishin, hi again, and also hi, hello. If you ever try Warframe, there's something big and scary. True. What light are you doing? Well, I'm still going to figure that out. That's what I was going to. So today, one of the things I meant to do, that's all right. One of the things I meant to do was start figuring out the incentives and stuff that I will be getting done. But some of it will be similar to what we did for the 1,000 resident celebration. So there'll be things I'll try and have unlocked for donation goals we reach, and also incentives for every donation above a certain amount. So every donation above like £5 or £10. or dollars or whatever, I'll try and have. They won't be the sort of things like I did for the 1000 celebration, because some of those might not be so suitable for raising money for a charity as opposed to the wackiness we do here. But the main thing is I've got some of that graphical infrastructure, I've got that artwork overlaid, and I'm going to adapt it for that kind of thing. But yeah, I meant to get that done, at least to make a good stab at getting those incentives prepared and sorted this afternoon. But I'm mentioning it now because then some of you already know that that's coming, and I'll be announcing it in the Mayor's Podium in Krayven's Town and so on and so forth. And some blind veterans are amazing charity veterans who go blind. They take to St Dunstan's to go karting. That sounds very good, Stu. Nice. Was it? Is what are like you doing? Sorry, Renan, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. What do you like doing? Could you, Renana? It's if you just ask me what do I like doing, that the correct way to ask it, is what do I like doing, if that is what you're asking. But can you be a bit more specific, because just in general, on stream, what games I like to play, my hobbies, how I use my time, because what do I like doing encompasses an awful lot of different things, and I could probably answer that more fully when I'm in part 2 and I'm just chatting away while we're playing Pillars of Eternity. But yeah, if you can make it a tad more specific, that would be incredibly helpful. Thank you. But yeah, the reason I didn't get that underway is I got a rather curious message, and it's relating to something that will be more immediately happening hopefully next weekend, in addition to the streams. I may be doing some Steam streams of an indie game. Don't worry, the regular schedule will not be affected at all. I'll still be doing the Sunday night, and the rest of the week coming up should be, next week should be a normal stream scheduled week. However, I will be potentially doing... There's some indie game called Yuppie Psycho, and it looks very, very fun. Basically, a lady this afternoon contacted me about would I be interested on behalf of a streamer, influencer marketing company, gaming marketing company called Disobey, of doing 2 4-hour streams but on Steam rather than on Twitch, to promote some stuff for an indie sale that's coming up. What makes this stand out is that they're actually offering to pay, which is nice. Now, those of you who've been around for a while may recall this has happened once or twice before. When Grip, that racing game, came out, I got a few free copies of the game to have for myself and give out to you folks. When that launched, I took part in the sort of promotional Steam stream for that. And a previous company, Dead Good Media, gave me a free copy of The Bard's Tale 4 and Divinity 2 to do some trial streams, 4 hours each for those, which was probably the best thing I'd ever gotten, because both those games were worth about 40 quid new. But yeah, Bamey Leaf, friend of our channel, Bamey Leaf, recommended me as someone who does a lot of indies and just as, in her eyes, a good streamer, to actually be contacted by this group, because they reached out to her because she's a lot bigger and more high profile and influential than I am. And yeah, so on hopefully, if this lady gets back to me and we arrange like how it's going to go on Steam, on Saturday and Sunday daytime, I will be doing. I had the choice of like these 4 indie games, and I looked at all of them. I thought that one would be the most interesting and fun to do, and I'm going to be doing that. And it might actually pay me. It's technically my first, if it all comes off, it's my first genuinely sponsored one-off thing for money, as opposed to, oh, here's a free bit of tat that you weren't going to buy, or here's a discount to something, or shit like that they try and give away to everybody. So it's just a small thing, but it's actually kind of nice. My English is medium. You're studying English. Nice one. Dark was out of the room for a bit. Could you mention the thing again? Could you I've mentioned 2 or 3 things, Kitsune. If you mean special effect, welcome back, Sapphire. Gonna have to repeat all that, but if you mean special effect, yeah, all my donations are going to go to special effect from the 1st of October all the way through the month, because there's Game On for Everyone as the special effect campaign. I'll be supporting that on Tiltify, much like I did for the St. Jude Play Live, which a lot of streamers collectively raised several $1 million for that across the whole board. And Special Effect is having a similar thing going on, and this channel is going to be a part of that, and I'm going to have incentives in a similar way but different things to the 1,000 follower thingy. So there's going to be per stages of money raised, I'll have an incentive, and then per donation, I'll have some incentives like that. And and I meant to get some stuff planned for that, and then I'm giving the news about what's coming next weekend, which is I'm going to be doing some Steam streams in addition to the usual Twitch schedule for what is potentially my first ever sponsored, as in paid for money, stream by a media group, which, you know, so get in there, getting noticed. I mean, I might have Hunt Underway. I might have only been noticed literally because a much bigger streamer than me, who's a good friend of mine, recommended me. But even still, it's something. It's something I wouldn't have had before. And Lion says, "Hey, lurking for about an hour, and about hey, and lurking for about an hour. Be back soon." Okay, cool. Lyle, does that mean after an hour's passed you're going to be more active, or after an hour's passed you're going to be away? But lovely to see you, Councillor Lila. I hope you're well. I will ask how you're doing, but you just said you're lurking, so I don't want to put you on the spot of having to answer and all that kind of stuff. So that's the news and bits and pieces coming up. Steam streams covered. First, a little announcements about Special Effect, aside from the thing I mentioned 6 weeks ago when I first sort of signed up for it, a month ago when I first signed up for it. Otherwise, technical bits and pieces. You may be wondering, Spin is down. Hunt's still working and Duel is still working. I've got Spin turned off. So I think it was Pink, Resident Pink Apom on Thursday pointed out the Spin didn't seem to be working properly. I had a look into it, the Spin command for the gambling. It wasn't working properly, but it wasn't working in all your favour. Turns out that if you won creds on it, it awarded them to you. If you lost creds, you didn't lose any. So everyone who span regularly, you basically farmed yourself a shitload of extra creds. Congratulations. Gonna let you keep them all. I got in touch with the creator of the script, because you can do that on Streamlabs' own Discord, and he got back to me saying, can you test it some more, and I did, and I messaged him back on, I think, yesterday or Friday, but I haven't heard from him since then, so hopefully he's aware of it and it's the same thing's happening for him. But yeah, I've got to turn it off, because otherwise people could just spin and generate a ludicrous amount of creds, and then I've got to give a whole bunch of the high roller prizes, which some of the real high ones would cost me too much money. So I'm afraid it's back to gambling that does work. Cool. I'm very well, thank you, Lila. All right, lovely. Well, we'll catch you in a little bit then. Yeah, sure. Maybe a bit busy with my job. I'm sure something can be arranged in the future. Just to say thanks for everything. Oh, Stu, meet you, buy you a drink if you're near Edinburgh. Oh, that's excellent. And how do we go? Plated Dust Vipers. Yo, Retort. The real life Retort. Retort RL. Good evening to you. Week coming up, I'll announce all that tomorrow with Mellow Out Monday and what the schedule's going to be. But it's looking to be a pretty standard week, the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Sound effects, don't forget those new ones that we have is, of course, Day.
What a lovely day!
Ghostbusters 1, courtesy of his marker.
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
And of course, Shrubbery. These ones that have got personalised commands.
Well, what is it you want? We want a shrubbery!
Those ones with these cool personalised commands in are the, examples of the high roller prizes. 25,000 creds if you've got lots and lots of points that you can redeem. And much like Darkins' personal command is the first rung of the high roller prize at 15,000. So if you redeem a sound effect, not only do you get one put in, but you get like a personalised command that goes in and references it. Still need to do Tootsakas, which is something from Mushroom Head. I've got to review that and check it's going to be alright. It's such a great line, isn't it? It's such a great line. God, this is what it must be like for a girl in a nightclub. Yeah, some point in Hollow Knight that was deeply disturbing. Alright, otherwise... Oh, we yes!
A shrubbery!
Last thing, and then actually get on with reading the stories, because it's been about a 36 minute warm up and counting. I'm almost turning into Barley at this point. Monty Python, can't go wrong, can you? Retort. I thought he was going to say yes the first time I saw it. I totally would have, because I believe it myself. I should kick your ass with my penis toes. Oh, that was back in the days of Old World Blues. Yes, a couple of updates for Krayven's Town. The Kraybots have been kind of busy. Firstly, downtown. Downtown has been remodeled a little. As opposed to having specific parts of downtown, like the adult cinema and mean graffiti, like basically the adult stuff, those were a bit redundant. The general meme areas, both of those channels have gone from being just pictures to all multimedia. So as you know, most of you know, everything in the entertainment district allows for pictures and movies and GIFs, provided they're relevant to the part of town that they're in. So as expected, and the picture canals are supposed to be just sort of pictures only, or maybe videos if it's like the petting zoo pet videos. But I figured having the adult cinema and the mean graffiti place were a bit pointless, so now they've been merged. So if you're wondering why there was suddenly a bunch of videos that have been posted before appearing in the mean graffiti channel, that's why I was moving over the better choices of the cool ones that I thought were there, referencing the people who posted them before and re-tagging them. So basically downtown is now just two places. You've got Soapbox Corner for all your basically town square or the chat channel, plus no restrictions on political or current affair or religious topics, and all the the usual stuff that can usually start arguments can happen in there still. But it's now called the back streets. So you know when you guys do the alert command and it goes so and so slinks into the back streets and alleys of Cravenstown, those are now the back streets and alleys. And you can imagine there's a seedy adult cinema and graffiti on the streets all in one thing, but it just streamlined it. And that was partly to make room for a new part of what was formerly the Cravenstown streaming complex is now the Krayven Content Multiplex. You're watching the main show in the Krayven Content Multiplex. It's had a little rebranding because I'm looking into branching out and starting to...
That was legitness. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I thought so too, Retort. Making more headway into the content I want to make on other platforms, especially YouTube specific content, videos I want to edit and make related to stream branding, because the whole Cravenstown idea has been proven to be quite unique and very popular, and no one else has done maybe they've done something like it, but no one else has made videos like that, so I want to beat everyone else to the punch. And also related to mental health and streaming in a way, like bite-sized bits that has really got very little coverage or has only been covered in a generic way on YouTube. So yeah, there's now the more Cray booths, so little booths you can imagine going into, like little bits. If it's like you've got the big show and you've got the archive screens and the clip screens, then there's these booths, this little entertainment center for the other stuff. So there's going to be YouTube. Posting those this afternoon, the Gaming for Laughs podcast I did a few weeks ago with the comedian Will Preston. Do have a listen to all of that. I defend Morrowind brilliantly. Nice little organic conversation for an hour. Pure podcast. And Mr. Redweird, I used to do a podcast with him for one season to support his brand and his show before even he joined Twitch. So it's like 3 years ago, easy now. But the Redweird podcast was one season, 6 episodes and a Christmas special. So a British season, not an American season that's 24 episodes long of a show. But we did that, and he previously had all of that stuff muted on his YouTube while he's deciding what he wants to do with his channel, but he's unmuted that stuff and made it available again, so the playlist is back up. Won't lie, some of it is a bit rough when it first starts, but it gets better. And episodes 4 and 6 of the Redweird podcast, Beardcast, which is about beer, and Fearedcast, which is our Halloween special, are, not gonna lie, they're particularly good and they're a blast from the past, so do feel free to check them out. But that kind of content's going to go in there periodically. I'm the only one who'll be posting in there for that kind of stuff, obviously. But yeah, there's a bit more as we branch out. So we've merged a bit downtown to make room for an expansion of the Krayven Content Multiplex, as it's now called. And oh, Jinta, sorry, God, when that tagged up, I thought someone had hit quote. See, Kitsune hit quote, and I just saw this Cancer Dragon in Cuphead, and then I saw a tag, and I thought it was me. It was not, it was Jinta coming in. I didn't even say hello already. Citizen Jinta, how are you? Legend has it, Krayven is actually known as the Dread Pirate Big Cray Black Nose Ven. Oh, Big Cray Black Nose Ven, yes, because my nose is very, very black. It's Ben, that's a scourge of the Meres out by the Lake District. So true, so true. Jinta keeps giving away all my secrets by saying, oh, they're just legends. Jinta, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I'm so sorry I took so long to... Oh, can you stop bouncing back to the bottom? Freaking OBS chat scrolling is the worst. That quote? You guys guilt me with Muggy, even though he's an erotic freak. My quotes are glorious. I don't know how many. You know what? Before we actually get started, I'm gonna literally, not commands. Where's quotes? I want to see how many we're at this point. 99. We're literally on 99 quotes. I think the last several have come from Sapphire. That doesn't mean just because someone wants to be the 100th quote. Anyone who wants to quote me this evening, make it a good one, because you're going to be the 100th. You're going to be the 100th. And you like the toaster. Quote, anyone who displeases me gets to run next to the toilet. Oh, oxygen not included. Yes, I am enjoying being a straight up brutal dictator to those little derps. And Ginger says, pretty good. It's been a long couple of weeks, but I'm still alive. Well, that's excellent. What's that southern saying muggy mean? Oh, muggy just means like sticky, very humid weather. Your infant might be starving, but it's for a good cause. Fallout New Vegas. I'm a terrible person. All right, well, on that charming note, no, I thought we did as well, but I just had a look in the chat bar and it's not. We're on 99. We're on 99. Yes, I am a horrible human being. Or at least the quotes you guys take deliberately out of context make me look like a horrible human being. Huh? Yeah, see, that says quote 128. Can I cheese it past all these morons? So why is chatbot only showing right quotes? See, it's only 99 quotes page. Oh, no, out of one. Ah, it starts from page 0. We have 179 quotes. We have 100. Okay, we're on 179 quotes, not 100. My bad. Decided to start at page 0 as opposed to page 1, like a fucking normal thing does. All right. Coming up for 45 minutes. That's a proper Sunday warm-up. Folks, are you feeling warmed up? My vocal cords certainly are. And do give me, those of you who've just arrived, you're chilling out, if you haven't already said, give us a little summary of what you've been up to, what makes you happy, things that have made you chuffed, something cool that's happened. Tell me anything, not necessarily what you've been up to, just tell me anything, something about your weekend, your hopes and dreams. Did you build that Lego thing? Did you get that extra scoop of ice cream? Catching up, well, bread is his body. So true. How many are mine? I don't think they say. Let me have another little look. See if it does say who quoted it. Yeah, it doesn't state who actually made them. It doesn't say who took the quotes. But just rest assured, a good chunk of the recent ones are yours, Sapphire. All right. At exactly 45 minutes in, let's... Christ.
Been playing Link's Awakening.
Thank you for letting us know with text-to-speech, and more importantly 75 biddies darkens. Thank you so much indeed. Alright, let me do that again. Warm up over. At 45 minutes in, let's begin part 1. We got a few stories, a nice little casual few this week. So without further ado, caught you all up. It's nice to have a whole bunch of stuff to run through, although that does tend to leave me a little bit short of things by Tuesday's warm-up to talk about. So we've got 4 stories this week. That's good, because with a longer warm-up it gives me a chance to get a good chunk of time in on Pillars of Eternity, which I do enjoy. By the way, do let me know if the music is a bit too high. I've been trying to put it up but still with a nice background, and it's always a bit different for people with speakers and headphones, but I will figure it. BRB, no worries, mate. Okay, see you dying from Nuclear Revenge. This again, we've got 4 Reddit stories this week. I'm going to check if Sapphire had already wrote up her latest thing in the writer's coffee shop. Well, I'll just catch up on the remainder of the chat here. Been playing Link's Awakening, and Stu said been playing Zelda on Switch Lite and hopefully off to Edinburgh, so not a bad weekend. That does sound very positive. Kitsune, I played Portia and a new game, Dragon Quest Builders 2. What's Dragon Quest Builders about? BRB, and Portia had an update that fixed the main mission issue, thank goodness. That is a huge relief. By the way, Hyper Light Drifter has had a little update that fixed the slowdown issue apparently, so I might bring that back briefly on Tuesday as a filler game to finish off. I was on year 3 from a year 2 mission that was super annoying. Oh, good lord.
Subway 75 bonus 7. I haven't, but you can mention that horrible interview Ruby had. P.
Sapphire, thanks so much for 75 biddies. And all right then, I'll do that as the last part from the writer's coffee shop. Okay, I will trust that the background electro swing is a-okay, as no one has complained. Okay, and 47 minutes, right? Because I'm doing these to give myself timestamps for the YouTube, because I'm still putting the videos up. 47 minutes in for realsies, third time's a charm. Story Sunday, part 1, reading the stories. This first post comes from Resident See You Dying and is posted to Reddit Nuclear Revenge. This is a subreddit or a splinter off of Pro Revenge for when it's like even Pro Revenge is not severe enough to cover these. So a nuclear revenge is a place for all forms of extreme revenge, and this is from user fbatheboard, 5 days old, for nearly 5,000 upvotes. How I destroyed my ex-employer, and took over his company. Okay, TLDR, I own a finance company and my greatest rival was my ex-employer, brackets, old boss, which is how it would be referred to in the story, together with another ex-employee, brackets, nice guy. I destroyed him and had a hostile takeover of his company. He went from being worth nearly 100 million euros to bare-ass broke in the last 2 years. Wow, this sounds like a full-on, high-level, financial Wall Street level douchebag destroying another douchebag and posting about it on Reddit. Well, let's carry on, and I'll catch up on your awesome stories as filler between this and the next story. Whoa, this is quite a meaty one. Several paragraphs. Excellent. Right. Me. Little bit of hydration. Right. Warm up your ears for my warm, buttery words. During my university studies, I got into forex trading, ETFs, brokerage, arbitrage, etc. I made some nice money out of it, but I never really put so much effort into it. It brought enough for a comfortable life, but as it was not related to what I studied, biochemistry, I really wanted to concentrate my future on what I actually studied for. I considered it to be a hobby. During the original stellar rise of Bitcoin, I made some serious money. Oh, good for you. At one time, I had nearly €1 million in my bank account. With that kind of money, where I am from, there is really nothing you cannot buy. Once my university studies were over, I returned to my home country. Once there, I started a master's degree in a field related to biochemistry, but I also started looking for a job in the finance sector to make money. Got a taste of it and I wanted more. At the risk of sounding arrogant, I am a tremendously good financier, despite my lack of any formal training, except what I taught myself from online lectures and days upon days of reading finance-related textbooks from reputable sources. After some job hunting, I landed a job in a company founded and run by Old Boss. Old Boss was a strong, iron-fisted man. He would involve himself in micromanagement of every employee, and I was no exception. During the job interview, he personally led the interview and asked me things along the lines of, "You're obviously not talented or intelligent. Why should we hire you?" And also making multiple unveiled remarks about my race. Where I am from, there are 2 major races in the country, and I belong to the minority. Although I have never identified myself to anyone as such, close brackets. By some miracle, I managed to preserve my cool and present him with documentation relating to my activities in the previous year, with bank statements proving how much money I made, etc. That shuts him up. I end up getting hired with a respectable wage and flexible hours, most of which can be worked at home. I'm in heaven. Apologies if I trip up a little. English is clearly not his first language, and I'm changing a few words that have been misused. I was assigned to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies trading, working a company-owned account. The account through which I was trading was owned by the company, and I was provided daily with a two-factor authentication code to be able to log in and do my trades. I would also receive premiums on what I earned for the company. So I transferred just over 40 Bitcoins from my personal wallet to the company's account wallet to play big and earn nice premiums. It worked like a charm. The first month my premiums were more than my wage. Sly bastard. The second month they were nearly 4 times my wage. I was making very nice money. Then came what was probably the worst day of my life. Just over 5 months after I started the job, I got called into HR. Apparently, I was not making them as much money as I promised. I made no promises, by the way. And I was not making as much as other Bitcoin trainers. Brackets again, I made nearly as much as the rest of the department, a whole 8 people combined. So apparently HR is telling him fibs. Well, there's nothing really to be done at this point. Really. I'm fired. Period. I go to my computer and transfer my 40 Bitcoins from the company account wallet to my personal wallet. I am locked out. Someone changed the password. I let my supervisor know. His response is a derisive "so?" I go higher. I receive no response. Apparently, the order for my firing came from old boss himself. He responded to my queries with "eat a cake, you'll feel better about it." Oh, what a dick. 3 weeks later, I'm informed that everything in the company account wallets belonged to the company, and I was so informed in the contract of employment. I go through the contract, there is no such clause. I take them to court. The first time the court convened, old boss is personally there. The first hour or so was just me explaining to the judge what Bitcoin is and how it works. He is sympathetic to my cause, but as there is no law in my country even coming close to regulating cryptocurrencies, typical, they are not considered either currency or commodity. There is nothing that can be done. The look on old boss's face, that smug look, that shit-eating grin of self-contentment, it's murderously infuriating. I'm robbed of 40 Bitcoins. That's a lot of money. Right, I'm going to take a little pause there. So we're up to the point where how everything's gone wrong for him. Let me just catch up on the old chat here. Don't want to go too long because this is a really long post. It's a very long story. Let's see. Funny when it's not dark for a change. For reasons that are beyond me, Jinta says, my sister has decided that we are now on a no-carb diet. Do you know what a diet is? That a diet is. It's die with a T. I hate everything I've ever lived for. I know, carbs are delicious. I give myself loads of them. It reminds me of that Simpsons horror sign. Oh yeah, back, roll, got my tea. Soothing, sultry voice, something like that. Hydrate, but I did remember to hydrate people. I hate when my computer internet accent. Oh, I hope it's fixed for you now, Darkens. Funny, I actually needed to drink my water right then. Yes, indeed. I'm going to take another sip right now. As someone who has a biological sciences degree, the finance sector are actively looking for people like that person in the story. Myself, physics and computer science. Really? Wouldn't have crossed my mind, but fair enough. I suppose if you're a genuinely intelligent person, any fucking monkey can learn what's required to be a trader in London, because they're not smart people, they're just unscrupulous. It's because the skills and analysis and knowing how to act as a bridge in between departments to help them understand data that I can't say I'll be like this dude. Fair enough. Nuclear revenge is not something that happens easily, I don't doubt it. Right, let's continue the story. Undiluted, soul-wrenching hatred towards old boss births a revenge plan in me. I was robbed of 40 Bitcoins. You'll lose everything, old boss. But first, I need to be in a position to hurt him. I decide to found a company working in the same sector as old boss's company. But before I found it, I need reliable people around me. I start hunting for fellows. My search for months is fruitless. Everyone in the cryptocurrency market in my country knows who old boss is and will not go against the man. Everyone except one. I was about to give up when I hear one of the 3 vice CEOs in old boss's company, nice guy, has resigned in protest. Bear in mind, Nice Guy was a very nice guy. Clue in the name. He would always personally ask me if I needed anything and if I had suggestions on how my department was run. Apparently he did that with everyone. I asked around why he resigned and, surprise, surprise, he resigned in protest about how Old Boss' treatment of their employees and customers was highly unethical. Apparently, long before I got in the picture, Old Boss Company had made a habit of screwing both their employees and customers, and Nice Guy was very antagonistic to this approach. From what a close friend of Nice Guy said to me, Nice Guy was particularly outraged over my firing, as he considered a minority working and succeeding at Old Boss Company would be a good supporter of racial integration and an important marketing opportunity. I contacted Nice Guy. I explained to him, barring no secret, what my plan was. Suffice to say that he was apprehensive at first. He probably thought I was crazy. Every question he had, I replied with an answer. Over 2 months, I finally wore him down to acceptance. I am starting to grudgingly appreciate the user's tenacity. He became my greatest ally, advisor, and one of my closest friends. Henceforth, we founded my company with an initial capital of around 100,000 euros. Solid. Nice Guy and I worked very hard to succeed. We made a goal of doubling the company's worth every year. We expanded into capital investment and retail banking and forex trading. Within 3 years, my company's net worth was well over 9 million euro. Can't argue with that. At which point Old Boss took serious notice. He invites us to his company's headquarters and proposes to buy us out for 5.9 million euro and assures us that we would retain our positions and my company would simply become a subsidiary of his. Working again as an employee for Old Boss? Don't think so. I get up to leave, go to the door, turn around every now and then and say, I ate that particular cake before, didn't agree with me. I turn around and leave. That's quite a killer line. That's quite a killer line. How much is 40 bitcoins? It depends when, but at its absolute peak, 10 bitcoins would have been 250,000. So at its absolute peak, 40 bitcoins would have been 1 million, but I imagine this was perhaps a little sooner, but you're still talking comfortably over 50 grand. And yes, it's a big revenge story, Katsune. That's a great line. So he has that cake line. I ate that particular cake before, didn't agree with me. I turn around and leave. We continued to be wildly successful for our next 2 years. Our work ethic, especially in retail banking, was solve the problem without hurting anyone. That's actually pretty amazing for the financial sector. They're mostly bastards. It worked. Before we knew it, we started taking customers away from Old Boss's company. This, coupled with Old Boss's lavish lifestyle, brackets, the man owned 2 Lamborghinis, who even needs 2, very true, close brackets, put his company in a tight spot. With the higher administration going south after Nice Guy's departure, and the lower floors having virtually no drive to work or earn the company any serious income, the company was beginning to stagnate. At this point, in late September 2017, so not so long ago, so this is when Bitcoin was really, really good, and then we're going backwards from how long it took him, 3 years, fired, so he would have had those 40 Bitcoins taken away from him in about 2013, 2014, and they were very valuable then. So at this point in late September 2017, Old Boss's company peaked at a net worth of 96.2 million euros. Despite the ownership of over 100 million euro of assets, they were lacking liquidity, literally meaning immediately available money such as cash or money in bank accounts. Instead, Old Boss had a lot of land. Expensive, but land doesn't really bring in a lot of money. It's the worst investment form ever. As the central bank of my country is not very resilient in terms of financial power either, there is only a limited amount of liquidity they can provide for Old Boss's company, which incurs debt to the central bank. Realty, or realty industry has essentially been dead in my country for some time now, so there is no chance of selling that land at a profit, and only a meagre chance of selling it at a loss. Old Boss's company sells what they can sell at a loss for liquid funds and for more liquidity needs. They increasingly borrow from the central bank. It is still not enough. An Old Boss does not sacrifice his luxurious and extravagant lifestyle to save money. They finally resort to issuing bonds to bring in money. Ooh, jeez. I'm glad, and it's a healthy balance, as it can see there. I'm glad. Yeah, Electro Swing just works perfectly for these just chatting or warm-ups and story time bits. What was I up to? They finally resort to issuing bonds to bring in money. The way bonds work in my country is that whosoever holds the bond at the maturation date can demand payment of the bond. Bonds that have passed their maturation date can be demanded payment at any time. I hire people to buy Old Boss's bonds as they come out. I ended up buying 116 of the 120 bonds issued by Old Boss's company. Oh, here we go. Each bond was valued at €100,000 for a total of €12 million, of which €11.6 million is held by me. The maturation date is 1 year, and the interest over that period is 16.5%. Oh, whew, that's a lot of cashish. The money brought in by the bonds kept Old Boss's company afloat for a while, but without hot money to keep the lights on, they soon began to struggle once again. They tried to issue even more bonds, but the central bank did not allow them, as they already had €12 million worth of outstanding bonds, without factoring in the interest. Instead, they did an IPO, an initial public offering. I'm learning so much about the financial industry from this. I don't know about you folks. It's a very educational story. And decided to sell off 40% of the company's stock at 0.1% a share. I bought some from Old Boss directly, but most of it from third parties. 36.4% of those shares. At that point, Old Boss's company was still valued over €90 million, so the purchase of the stock nearly broke me. In exchange, I owned 36.4% of Old Boss's company and held, including the interest, nearly €18 million of his debt in bonds. Due in most part to nice guy's undying direction, I navigate this burden without too much difficulty. But the main test is still to come. The shares I hold give me access to Old Boss's company's financial records. There are lots of irregularities. It looks like tax evasion. I notify the central bank. The central bank finally takes a stand and bears down hard on Old Boss's company. What they find upon inspection is astounding. Embezzlement, laundering, fraudulence, tax fraud. The list goes on. Oh, goodness me. Pause, folks. Pause, folks. Because the playlist ran out. I'm surprised. Let's do the older collection. As you were. Okay. Embezzlement, laundering, fraudulence, tax fraud, the list goes on. The fallout is massive. Indeed, pause for effect, and because the music fucking stopped. All companies in the sector, including us, are inspected down to the last penny. Now, we have done our work well. We passed with flying colours. Yay, flying colours. Old Boss gets fined €3.6 million, including back taxes. He cannot pay. He is broke. So is the company. A virtual monopoly in the sector goes belly up. They do not hold liquid assets. Realty is still stagnating. Customers are in a bank run and the money is not flowing in. They have only one option. They sell 10% more of Old Boss's company at 1% a share at half price. Some people buy. I track them all down and buy them all at regular price. They made a lot of money. I now own 46.4% of Old Boss's company. The final sale puts Old Boss's company in profit. They massively downsize. Within a week, the payroll is reduced by half. They now sell their extraneous offices. Company cars are sold away. As they struggle to bear the storm, I begin gathering clouds for mine. I'm getting the idea of like a financial X-Man just doing like an actual storm thing. Oh, here we go. Right, last couple of paragraphs. The day for my victory has at long last come. I have my CFO, Chief Financial Officer, an unknown person to them, call Old Boss's company to set up a meeting in my name, brackets, an anonymous shareholder, close brackets, to discuss business strategies. On the day of the meeting, I walk into Old Boss's company 10 minutes early. They still do not know that I practically own them. I walk right to the office block. He's talking to his officers in the corridor right outside the meeting room. He sees me, looks at me like I'm some insect and goes, I have a meeting in 10 minutes with some very important people. Whatever it is, leave it with my secretary. I say, I know. Let's talk then. I open the glass door to the meeting room, walk in and sit down. For a second, he looks confused. Then, comprehension dawns on his face. Along with it, terror. Undiluted, pure, soul-wrenching terror of what is about to happen. He knows now. He understands. He knows I hold the shares. He knows I hold the bonds. He understands I'm about to take everything from him. He only manages to mutter one word, oh. The meeting is short. I return the bonds to be rendered null and void for another 12% of Old Boss's company. I walk away with 58.4% of his company. Since I am now the majority shareholder, I knew that bit was coming, I was waiting for the phrase majority shareholder, I dissolve the board of directors on the spot and appoint nice guy, fucking hell, and appoint nice guy to convene a replacement. The termination letter to Old Boss is written the same day. Quote, we are saddened to inform you that you have been relieved of your duties in Old Boss Company. Close quote, that's it. His personal debts to the company are astronomical. Over the next month, we wrestle away most of his remaining shares and distribute them among the employees they laid off in their downsizing, along with 6 months of wages. Hey, fair play. The wonder, because I can imagine his Old Boss just cut them off and screwed them over and said, go fuck yourself. Old Boss ends up with 0.3% of the company's shares. No, 0.3. Since taking over Old Boss's company, we reversed its fortunes. It's only making baby steps towards recovery, but we are making progress. Using my powers over the company, I move towards an integration of operations with my own company, smoothing out operations and disposing of unnecessary expenditures. Old Boss boycotts all board of directors meetings, which he has the right to observe as a shareholder. His shares being 0.3%, next to insignificant, it makes barely any difference. My revenge is now complete. I have not only avenged myself, but the hundreds of other people he victimized. Oh, and Old Boss went to prison 2 months ago for a variety of convictions totaling 16.5 years. He now atones for his sins. Damn, even a mod commented on this. This is always my favourite form of revenge. Completely dismantle him piece by piece. Now just send him a holiday card and wish him a good one, classy. That's amazing. Self-taught in the finance industry as a hobby while he's doing his biochemistry degree. Got into Bitcoin at the right time, took it seriously, set up a rival company, bought out the person who screwed him over, got revenge for himself and everyone in it, and sent a criminal bankrupt and to jail. That was the meatiest story we've had in a while, but that was fucking amazing, and that is true nuclear revenge. Perfect timing. Ready for the next story, folks. Let's get a welcome, please. Exclamation mark welcome. When we get raiders, exclamation mark welcome for Mr. Fox Guy and the Foxy crew. A legit Cravenstown welcome to you. Welcome on in, one and all. You are in the meat and potatoes of part 1 of Story Sunday. If you haven't been here before, my name is Krayven and you are watching Story Sunday in the Krayven Content Multiplex. Lovely to have you. If you haven't been here before, I am a variety streamer, primarily doing a variety of games, but also doing live reading and occasional bit of live art. Story Sunday focuses around stories and narratives. This is part 1, where I do live reading of stories submitted by the Cravenstown community, usually stuff from Reddit, but the occasional poem, personal story, article on science, and so on and so forth. And then for part 2, we move over to the gaming narratives and games with very, very strong stories, which is and continues to have been for some months Pillars of Eternity 2 at the moment. So to quote Diablo, stay a while and listen. And Mr. Fox Guy, how you doing? You're welcome for that sweet karma. That was amazing. See you dying. Thank you so much for that submission. That was awesome. And Raiders, if I could ask you the slightest of favors, if you just come in, do feel free to hit that link, and or if you remove the refer a raid text and just hit refresh, then your views will count right away. That would be most splendid of you. But we'll do a shout out right now for Mr. Fox Guy, as many of you know him, a splendid human being, and is really coming into his own as a streamer the last little while. I've been trying to catch more and more of him. I saw you on earlier, but I was having my dinner and doing some things, and then I was getting started here. Who has been doing the Uncharted series recently, started off with retro and has branched out in variety. He's a good talker, he's engaging with his community, he's got decent production values, ready done with his stream elements, overlays and all that good stuff, and you should go and check him out. He's one of the longest standing members of the community we have here. How was Uncharted 4 a Thief's End? And the rest of you who've just come on over, thank you so much. You decided to stick around. We've got 3 more stories to get through, and then we're moving on to part 2 and Pillars of Eternity 2. So let's press on. That was just an awesome epic story from See You Dying, and the 3 we got tonight are one from each. We've got Malicious Compliance, Pro Revenge, and I Don't Work Here Lady, all from Darkens, all from Lord Darkens. Almost finished with the game, just a couple more chapters. Awesome. Have you already done the previous 3 as well, like Uncharted 1, 2 and 3? Okay. Oh my Christ. I saw there's not so many. This is another beefy one. Alright, well, we'll make no time like the present. I was expecting to get onto Pillars 2 a lot sooner today, which is why I did a longer warm-up, but I reckon we might not get as long as I expected. I misspoke, Sapphire. Of course we are, but I'm live, and if I just happen to misspeak for something, it doesn't necessarily refer to something I'm going to do. Yes, there's going to be the coffee shop bit as well. There's that and the coffee shop bit, but allow me to trip up when I'm when I'm live. You're playing all 5. There's 5, is there? I didn't realise there was a 5th Uncharted, I forgot. So, this is in Malicious Compliance, people conforming to the letter but not the spirit of a request. Posted by user Zik Frektor. Compliance. Oh god, so I'm gonna have to do a few corrections here. Person apologises because English is their 4th language. So this is apparently the story happens in a workplace run by the military. So he or she has changed terms so it's more similar to a normal company. So they won't be using military terms. I thought this was for Pro Revenge, but giving it some thoughts, it's probably more adequate to Malicious Compliance. All right. Okay, going to start with some context. Please bear with me. I think since I think it is needed to get the gist. So, This I should actually probably give the title, shouldn't I? Boss wants me to work my ass off. I sidestep and nope, out of there. Okay. So beginning, I was born in another country than the one I'm living now, and where the story starts. My parents divorced when I was very, very young, and it was my mum who raised me alone without my father's support, neither economical nor parental, since I didn't have contact with him after 20 plus years, and that time was brief regarding an inheritance heading my way from my grandpa, but that's another story. I grew up as an introvert, but had many good friends around my childhood, and during some time I was problematic for my mum. I played too many video games and neglected my studies, something that drove her mad for quite a few years when I was a teen. After wasting many years and having some big issues, I made a big decision. I'll join the military, and since then my bond with my mother improved a lot. You'll see why this is important, as she plays a big role in the story. I joined the military as a young soldier in a country where military services isn't mandatory. I chose the Air Force, and after some exams and training, I arrived at my new unit as a paratrooper and aircraft mechanic. That word makes me think of a comply appliance and alliance all at the same time. Playing off I've Lost Legacy is the one with Nathan Drake, takes place after 4. I got you. Be back in a bit, I need to go shopping. No worries, Evil Jess. No worries, no worries, no worries. Oh, sorry, still need to give Krayven the belated birthday spanking. Sorry, you've got a red flag, and your name is the exact same colour as Mr. Fox guy on my phone. You both got red flags, so I thought it was him talking the whole time. Welcome, Evil Jess. Good evening, Citizen Evil Jess. So I love my work. So he's a paratrooper and aircraft mechanic. I love my work. I was able to travel my country and the world, learn many new things, and get to know the best friends I've ever had. And day-to-day life was fun, and even when it was hard, I had the best people around to laugh with, even though you shouldn't be able to because of the circumstances, like military combat. I don't want to get too deep into what my job was in the unit, but I'll say it had a confidentiality clearance and worked during maintenance deployments and escort jobs. So with the story itself, it's hard to explain the chain of command in my unit, but I'll try my best. We're a small team. There was myself, 3 co-workers, a supervisor that also had other tasks, and the manager. So he's changing it from military terms to regular company terms for civilians. In my work environment, usually I would report to my supervisor, a low-ranking officer that we'll call Brian, and he would report to Mike, a high-ranking officer that commanded my section, who's the manager of that place and one of the initial creators of this department. This department was figuratively Mike's baby. There's another department that we worked with on a daily basis, as they also did maintenance, but they did it on electronics, where we would and we would share the same buildings, offices and cars. This department would also respond to Mike and was at his direct command. Now, the rest of the people involved in this story. Brian, low-ranking officer, was direct, really good at his work, and a strict man. The personification of army middle-aged man. The only flaw he would have had, it's that things had to be done his way, being for better or for worse, would sometimes lead to a lot of unnecessary work that didn't make any sense, and ultimately had to be redone afterwards. Brian ran the place smoothly though, and was the backbone of all that had to be done, since we were mostly young people that would run around like headless chickens without him. It did happen when he wasn't there. He knew a lot of things that none of us did, and if he didn't, he knew how to look it up, or who to find. After I arrived, he took me under his wing, and my work ethic has taken form thanks to having him as an example. This is very long-winded. I want this guy to get to the point of the story a bit more. I had and still have a good relationship with almost all of my co-workers back then. He's no longer there. Some of us really get along. We would go every weekend to drink, and we would have lunch and dinner and coffee and do trips sometimes. For this story, I will only name 2 people, David and Eric. David was a simple guy. I didn't have much of a relationship with him since we didn't click, and he was a higher rank than me. He sometimes pushed his work onto others, but was an okay guy. He wasn't unpleasant to work with. Sometimes he credited others' work as his when reporting to another boss. We didn't really care that much. No one gave him a second thought about it, but okay, blah, blah, blah. Eric is one of my buddies. I can't count how many times I slept on his couch and we had a blast together. He's important in this story because he's the one that uncovers a scary truth that was happening on my back in the future. So I'm struggling with this one. The English is really wonky because it's his fourth language, and there's a lot of extraneous detail here. It was Friday after work. We're actually getting started with the story now. I took a 2-hour train to go home and check on my mum and my grandma just for a day, since the next day on Saturday a friend is doing dinner at her home, and then we're going to some nightclubs. I spend a day with her, but she's a little sick, so we don't do much. I've been going back home almost every week and having a great time with my mum for the last few years. Next day goes as planned, and Sunday I'm hanging out with the girl I met the night before, a friend of a friend that was invited to dinner. Then I get a call from a voice I don't recognise, something about my mum being sick and that I had to go back home fast. I asked for an explanation, I didn't receive any, so I just hang the phone. I get another call immediately. This time it's my grandma. Your mum is dead, come back. Jesus Christ, that escalated quickly. I won't delve much into what happened after, but I cried myself out while driving to the station to take the first train there. While I was in the train, I tried to call Brian, but he didn't take the phone, and after some tries I ended up talking with David, this other guy, telling him what happened and I won't be at work tomorrow, on Monday, which is tomorrow. Now that's all been told, there's need for a time skip. And this is very tragic, but thank goodness, because that was a lot of additional context. 1 month after I'm back at work, the funeral has been done, but the paperwork is still in its baby stages. People who have had to deal with this kind of paperwork regarding inheritance, taxes, payments, bureaucracy know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it does take it's a very drawn out process. I've dealt with that myself. So in preparation for all that task and to get some much needed rest, I tell Brian I want some leave from work. It's in the law that I have the right to ask and get it. He just tells me to please wait until things get better, since we lack personnel and a big operation is going to be happening in a month. Right now it's just me and another person besides him, as recently another buddy had been granted a transfer to another unit. I agree, but I make sure to tell him I'll have to take days off to do the paperwork in another city. He says there's no problem, since I still have all my days for this year, and there won't be any problem for that, blah blah. So I ask for my leave and it gets through. My leave will start 3 months from now. That's a long time to wait. Song's a bit loud. Okay, I'll knock it down. Oh, it's actually winding down a little bit, so I'll leave it where it was. Hopefully the next one. Pipe up again if it gets too much quieter. Right, next track should be coming in. A couple of weeks later, Brian leaves the country and David is assigned as our temporary manager. This is the... How much more there is? Oh, fucking hell, this story is huge. Might have to save some of them for next week, so I appreciate they're longer stories, but some of these are getting to the point they're almost too long. Okay. Alright, now there's that need for time skipping back at work. Okay, sorry, I've lost my place a bit. This is just, he's got so many unnecessary lines and paragraphs. Okay, my leave will start in 3 months from now. A couple of weeks later, Brian leaves the country and David is assigned as our temporary manager. This is the moment things turn south. You probably guess where this is going. David was the slightly lazier one, and Eric is the good friend. There is just myself and David working right now. Rarely we get any help, as we have a lot of work to do, not just in our location, but around the world. We are used to working overtime and without personnel, so it's not a problem for anyone. The problem starts when I ask for a day off. I had an appointment to sign some legal documents and retrieve others from the state, and I asked David about it. He says this week is not a good one, and next week we can try to make it happen. Okay. Next week I asked David about having a day off. He tells me he's busy and to tell him tomorrow. Next day the same, and into the next day I repeat to him I need a day off, and then he goes off berating me for some work I'm supposedly not doing, storming out. I'm shocked. I'm just asking for a day that they have to give me by law. Fast forward, after more than a month I haven't done any paperwork, and when I asked for a permit I'm just getting responses towards delaying the permit at the end of the week to see if there's going to be work on Friday or not. After a while I can't sleep and I'm just unable to cope with everything that's going on right now. During my sleep or free time, I still have to strong. Okay, fine. There is one day I can't stand it anymore since my deadlines for taxes and inheritance are getting really close. Like when someone dies in the country, there is a time for when the inheritor is able to pay the taxes and present paperwork to the state and to claim property. So I just get an appointment with the needed parties and say to David, I'm taking this day off. I've been waiting for months now and I can't delay it anymore. He agrees and tells me to give him the permit and tomorrow to sign it. And tomorrow comes, I have the permit to be accepted for next week, just a couple of days, Friday and Monday. Guess what? I couldn't find David. Next day, he's too busy. Tomorrow, he'll sign it. Now it's Thursday in the morning of the other week, and I'm coming towards David with the permit in one hand and start again. Can you sign my permit? It's for tomorrow and Monday, as we agreed upon. He takes it, reads a bit, and takes it to Mike's office. He tells me Mike has denied the permit and he can't do anything. There's a big operation coming next week on Wednesday and they need me here. Now, believe me, I'm a chill person, but I was mad. Hate was clearly coming through my eyes, but I said, okay, and just left. Remember, this is the military. Even when you're being fucked, you have to be careful and cover your back. Callum Boss 16. Hello. Okay, is this in a good spot now with the music? Welcome, Callum. How you doing? You have to cover your back. Now I understand something was going on. I don't know what it is exactly, but something is up. I started to talk with all my co-workers and trying to poke around to get info about what's going on. I do some calls, and at some point I cross paths with Mike in the office. He starts to talk to me about why he can't give me the permit, and so I tell him what's going on. He's confrontational and says I have to do what I have to do, just bear with it or leave. This is the military. I then repeat, I've been asking for this for a lot already, and it's my right to take a permit if I have an official appointment, and there is not an order on paper with a proper justification as to why I couldn't take these days off. If there isn't a proper justification why I couldn't take these days off in my hand by the end of the day, I'll not be there tomorrow. He says we'll talk in a few hours and leaves. I inquired about a lot of things that day. Some co-workers told me stories that this is not the first time this kind of thing has happened before. There have been some people have had to put up with even worse shit than this. David is well known for giving his job to other unqualified people, and that's even ended in injuries, complaints, bribes, and suing. Mike has done some nasty things to other people, but he's always been unscathed of any consequences, but there are stories. At the end of the day, I've been given both Friday and Monday with some word saying how generous Mike is and a warning about speaking directly to Mike by David. David also tells me that I'm risking to have detention and an official amnestation, whatever that is. Also that I will have to hand over justification of my appointments next week in Mike's desk, and that thanks to me he will have to work this Sunday. Okay, cancel a family. Oh, he had to work this Sunday instead of me. He planned on giving me some work that had to be done on Sunday. It didn't belong to me either. And cancel a family trip he had planned weeks before. Oh, the irony. So now it's Monday morning and I wake up at 8 a.m. to some messages from David, and he's mad and hysterical. I get paragraph after paragraph of shit from him. He says I left a battery starter stranded in the road and found something out of place at the workshop. He doesn't find some stuff. He's fuming. He says we'll talk tomorrow and I have to be prepared for consequences, etc. At this point, I'm not even mad. I'm exhausted. I have so many issues going on that my physique can't handle this guy's bullshit anymore. I just want to start my work leave, get over this and get out of there. I didn't tell you this, but during my leave I'm doing some exams to be promoted in the army. I've been studying hard, and when I have more time I study harder. The exam period is well known since every year in my unit many others take exams, get promoted and go back to study and train at the academy and never come back to where they were. It's relatively easy if you have the requirements and if you're prepared with some months beforehand, so that everyone assumes that if you take part on the promotion exam you pass, and they're right. So I get back to work next day and I'm being berated over something I don't even know about, and I'm being told my attitude is bad and I need to work harder and put work in a much higher priority. I just don't understand what is happening. I don't see myself as lazy. Every other co-worker would agree I put everything on the line and I'm dedicated. David ends our first meeting with, "We will talk later, I'll discuss this with Mike." I'm somewhat now in the back of my mind, something in the back of my mind now that something's not right. I talk with people and they console me a little, shit talk about Mike and David and tell me not to worry too much and get out of here as fast as I can. Here comes Eric in my story, the friend I introduced before. He takes me to a quiet place and tells me he overheard David and Mike talking about me on the office and how he listened in about stopping my chance this year to get promoted. I sink to myself for a few moments and thank him. Okay, how much more? Okay, I've got their cards now. I get a huge breath of air as I start to make a plan in my head. I talk with a few people and a friend whose father is a lawyer that's won some big cases in military law, even ruining some big shot's career in the same case before. She gives me his number and I get an appointment this afternoon. So comes the end of the morning, and David takes me to a side and tells me that I will be given a detention soon for 3 days or more. Then he starts rambling without me talking even one bit about how it would be good for me and how I can get through things, and a year more working here will go well with me, and after that I can become a lieutenant or whatever. Anyway, he rambled about how this is usual for the unit to give detention for these little things, even though in other units it would not happen since we're really strict. I gave some other examples of people getting detention and that this will not make me any stronger. I hear him, but I'm only listening to my heart's translation. Well, I'm only listening to what it basically really means. I want you to work your ass off here and to do 3 people's jobs for another year. If you're not here, I can't slack off anymore, and I'll continue to mess with you anytime I have a chance. He thinks he's made himself clear, pats me on the back and leaves. After the meeting with my lawyer, I went to the doctor, told him what's happening at work and left with medical leave that same day for 2 weeks, and that will end before it expires, just the day before my work leave starts. Next day I went to work in civvy clothes and told David what's going on. He didn't expect it. He was mute for a while and went to talk to Mike. Mike came to talk to me, and being in a cynical tone and a smug face, asked why I wasn't in my uniform. Told him I wasn't capable of work right now and I'd be seeing the base doctor to pass on the medical certificate I already have. He's mad, but he contains himself and leaves talking to himself. I talk with my co-workers, gossip a little here and there, and go to my house to get my stuff and go to my mum's old home in another city. Fast forward a week and a couple of days, I go back to my workplace the day my work leave starts and say goodbye to my friends and close co-workers. Mike calls me again to his office and berates me for a while. I'll try and transcribe his discourse as accurately as possible. I don't talk much and it's a pretty one-sided charade. Mike: you're in the army, what do you expect? Huh? What are you going to do now from now on? You've been on medical leave for more than a week, freeloading from the state. I'm here to pay for your nice car. I have a sports car with a big engine because I'm a car guy, and he asked me to test drive it months before, and I didn't let him since he's almost also a drunk at the workplace. And coincidentally, your medical leave ends right when your work leave starts. There's so much work to do, and you're leaving all your companions stranded. When you come back, we'll have a serious talk, and if you expect a good evaluation from me, you must be dreaming after this. But, well, if you don't like it, you can always leave and seek another job. If you think you're too good to work here, just don't get in the way. In my country, getting a job right now is really hard for young people. I leave that place and a boulder is lifted from my shoulders. Now I have 3 months to organise all the things I had to do since my mum's funeral. Finally. I even cry a little in the car since I hadn't had time to cope with the loss of her and still needed the healing. But he told me, right, I could just leave. I did everything I had to do during this time. My mother, even though she raised me alone, worked very hard, never remarried or anything like that. She just worked hard and was really valued at her company. She was making almost 6 figures at the peak of her career, which is a lot in his country apparently, and had some good savings as with some lucky but also good business decisions years prior. Plus I inherited some property and had other income coming my way, so he was set for life, which is very fortunate. Yo, his marker. How you doing, Citizen His Marker? Sounds like your old boss at your first company. Yeah, everyone's had a boss like this, I think. While on leave, I chose a flight academy and started training to become an airline pilot. Now, my lawyer prepared all the paperwork for me to leave the army as Mike recommended to me, and as the day approached the end of my leave, I went there again, dressed again in civvies. Let me tell you, the face Mike and David had when they saw me without uniform was priceless. They weren't able to understand why I wasn't going to work. It was as if they had a seizure because the day prior Mike told me again to sign my negative evaluation on what they agreed upon. They clearly had some plans built up against me they basically had a whole plan concocted against me that I just made completely redundant. Seems they were out for blood, as I was told by buddies that overheard them talking. They trash talked me a lot, and David was found checking on my personal belongings in the office, trying to find something we need that no one knew what was for or what it was. So basically, they're literally trying to actually just get him and screw him over. I laughed at that, gave my papers the lawyer gave the papers my lawyer prepared to Mike, and believe me when I say this, when he heard the word lawyer, he went apeshit in his mind and pale on his face. He stared at me for a few seconds, didn't say anything else aside from one remark: that if I wanted to leave the army by law, I can't be on leave, and I'll have to come to work in 15 days to present these papers, but in a working condition and uniform. I told him I'll discuss that with my lawyer, and we shaked hands. Me, Mike, army grade. Oh, me saying to Mike, you told me my choices and you were right, I had to leave. Guess what? He made that law up. So if I did as I was told and went into work in 15 days, he would use the military law to punish me with some reason regarding my attitude towards my superiors and some bullshit he could make up, forcing me to work or even face military jail time. With my lawyer in tow, I just ignored his demand and presented all the things I needed to the proper parties involved. Defence Ministry from the government, not Mike. Never ever heard of Mike and David directly again from then on, nor did they try to contact me after I didn't show up 15 days later. Now you're thinking, what about the consequences? Yes, I genuinely was. Well, technically, till a couple of months, I'm still assigned to their unit. For until a couple of months is up, I'm still assigned to their unit. You remember how low in personnel we were and how I told you I did almost everything there, right? I knew my department wasn't going to work if Brian or I wasn't there, and they needed someone ASAP to fill my position. But to ask for someone to come and fill my position, they have to wait till I get officially out of the system, and that's about 1 to 2 months after I cease to be in the army, something that is yet to happen. So David has been having to work a lot lately, and the problems keep piling up because he's messing up everything and the work can't be done with the irresponsible and untrained personnel left. That was something I knew as much as David knew, but Mike was going to learn now. And the things went so south after me. And if you're struggling to remember the beginning of the story, this department of the army is this guy's Mike's personal baby. The things went so south after me leaving that the department is going to cease to exist and be absorbed by another one in the near future because of his poor performance. This department was created originally by Mike, and he isn't able to stop the problems from going to the surface anymore. My case has been the talk of my unit a lot, and I've taken this opportunity to make a file of the problems of the department and some of the underhanded things they've been doing all these years, filled out and handed it over to his boss, Mike's boss, when I was asked by him about my reasons. Years working there had made me really knowledgeable about some blatantly illegal and dangerous things that have been going on at his command and to his knowledge. Mike's position will cease to exist, and he'll have to relocate his family to another base in another part of the country where his house will not be paid for by the state, as they are scarce and the rule first come first served is in place. Knowing I have a big part in his current predicament doesn't make me sleep better at night. I feel it's just a bit of karma paying him back. Well, Mike, I could just leave if I didn't like to be here, right? And that's just what I did. Now I'm about to take my first solo flight as a pilot in command, and I look back at this last year, and wow, he became pilot very quickly. I look back at this last year and feel like it has been a decade, but I couldn't be happier with where I am now in my life. Whew, okay. That was, okay, time-wise, I'm gonna have to. Well, I'm gonna do the last one that Sapphire wrote up. I'm gonna have to save the remainder. Yeah, I'm actually gonna say I appreciate there are fewer stories in there, but they're longer. We've had some longer stories, but that one was a bit too long. It was quite hard to read that because he did explain that English is his fourth language, but I was changing so much of what was written on the fly because it just made almost no sense, many of the sentences. And now, thank you very much to the submissions. The remaining two I will move forward to next week because with fewer submissions this week, I thought we were safe to do a bit of a longer warm-up, but that one was a bit too long with so much unnecessary extra context and detail. So we're going to Sapphire, we're going to do yours, and to Darkens and Seed Dying, thank you as always so much for submitting, and we'll do the Pro Revenge one and I Don't Work Here Lady next week. Best I ever did was get the local chapter of white nationalists filled with Hispanics and voted the racist out of their own party. Jesus Christ, how did you do that? I want to hear that story. Okay, this is a little thing about Ruby, Sapphire's girlfriend, that she wrote up in the coffee shop about a job interview. So this is nice. This is minuscule compared to the last one. Regardless, it's not a criticism for the submissions, as always. And to Darkens, everyone else who always puts them in, thank you so much for taking the time and checking them out. But that's the first time I've ever had to say that was a bit too long. And I don't mind a long one, but if it's going to be a long one, ideally someone with English as their first language who structured it well, because it was just too long because of how broken up and broken it was. Just needed a bit more proofreading first. So Sapphire, our very own Sapphire here, just wrote, about 2 months ago, Ruby, my lovely fiance and partner in crime, had a bit of a career directional crisis and was about to give up any hope of entering into the mental health professional field. For context, Ruby recently graduated from Glasgow with a 2-1 second class honours Bachelor of Science in Psychology, which is the second highest grade you can get in the UK. It's very respectable. Ruby is passionate about mental health, good for her, and has always continuously raised awareness on the topic. Overall, she is a gem. But Ruby and Sapphire. Gems both. Back to the situation. She was working full-time as a care assistant for approximately 4 years, and after getting turned away by Edinburgh for a mental health position, she felt like giving up hope. I then referred her over to a master's conversion course into mental health nursing, which I think she'll be awesome in. Plus, one, while the English government has slashed nursing bursary they have and changed them into loans, the Scottish government didn't, so she'll get paid for her studies. Not yet another reason why Scotland's better than England. Two, at the end of her studies, she's basically employed by NHS Scotland. After a bit of persuading, she finally applied for the course and was invited for a group interview at the university's main campus building. It was a group interview where five senior nurses will be providing them certain activities and see how they interact and work amongst different people. One of the activities asked them to interpret the picture cards, which can contain various scenarios. Their objective in the activity was to A, analyse and interpret the situation, B, state are there any good things in the picture, C, state are there any bad things in the picture, and D, what positive things a nurse can bring to the situation. So Ruby was lucky as she pulled out a card which shows, I'll just catch up on chat. I think our mods are a bit busy right now. There we are. Ruby was lucky as she pulled out a card which showed a picture of an elderly woman who was visibly upset and chatting to a nurse holding a box of pills, just completely ignoring Sapphire. As stated before, she has approximately 4 years of experience working as a care assistant, so she was able to present her findings with complete ease. Hopefully Lila will be back. Guys, don't pay any attention to it. If you do, the person will just make a fresh account and do more of it. If you see that and I ban it, don't bring it up again. Don't mention it. Just don't feed them. Period. Please. And Lila, if you're back, might need you around shortly. So Ruby was lucky as she pulled out a card which shows a picture of an elderly woman who is visibly upset and chatting to a nurse holding a box of pills. As stated before, she has approximately 4 years of experience working as a care nurse, so she was able to present her findings with complete ease. They get on to the last 2 people of the group, and this is what happened. So they get on to the last 2 people of this group of 5, or however many it is. A guy pulled out a card which contains a picture of 3 girls who were drunk, and one of them is obviously hanging off the other 2 girls' shoulders. He proceeded to state his findings, saying that they are on a night out, and one of them has obviously had too much to drink, but drinking may be due to certain issues, etc., etc. So this is going well. Suitable reply for sort of mental health nursing. It was all going well until he said this. Plus, it is extremely risky for them to walk about in the middle of the night as they're girls. And they are taking such a big risk drinking as well. So if anything happens to them, it's almost as if they were asking for it. Oh my god, who still does that? Well, plenty of people, and they're all wrong and stupid and kind of misogynist twats. I would like to remind you, there are 5 senior nurses there. 4 of them are women. I said to Ruby, if he is accepted on that course, I'll chop my hand off and eat it. You can obviously guess he wasn't on her course. The end. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yes, and I think that's entirely fitting. Who the... God, don't be a rape apologist, for fuck's sake. Alright, well, thank you to See You Dying, and to Darkins, and to our very own Sapphire for submitting those stories. Jesus Christ, that last one. I know I'd already read it before and I commented on it, but as did Stu there. But yeah, still reading it again. I was like, what? I would have been as well. Alright, well, thank you everyone for submitting. The other 2 longer ones, just because of time, we're getting to comfortably halfway through the stream, and I don't want it to be more than a half of it on the story stuff, especially if they're stories of equivalent length to the one we have. I'll proofread those remaining 2 and see if they're suitable for next Sunday. Alright, folks. I'm going to fire up Pillars 2 and update the titles. So if you... oh, someone should have slapped him, as if he was always asking that in a room of 4 women. Oh, he was told off. He was first told off by a dude, an ex-military dude. Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Folks, that is the end of part 1. That is the end of our story time. As I say, thank you everyone for submitting. Get yourselves a drink, go for a pee, take a little break. I'm just going to be up and doing things. Just going to put up the break screen, going to leave the music up, fire up Pillars 2, and then we'll be right back. So I will be right back with you in just a few minutes.